everybody. Thank you for coming. Really appreciate you guys all showing up today. My name's Noel. I'm the director at the Carving Studio and Sculpture Center in West Rutland, where this and so many of the other Rutland monuments were carved. We're here to unveil the 14th sculpture on the Rutland Monument Trail, the Gift of Life Monument. Very excited for the big reveal here in a few minutes. I want to start by thanking Carol Driscoll over here on the side, the director emeritus at the Carving Studio. Carol was the director at the Carving Studio for 28 years. She saw all 14 of these at their inception, has been a key player in the project, and is really somebody who we should all thank for the beautiful trail that we have today. I also want to thank Luca Manolini, who I do not see in the audience. Luca is over at the Vermont Quarries. He has been the key figure in actually getting the marble here carvable in its current state. They have donated all of the marble for all of the monuments on the Rutland Trail. So big thanks to Luca and the work that he's done over the last few years. These projects, and this project in particular, would not be possible without the donors who provide the funding for these projects. As you can imagine, marble is rather expensive. It's very heavy. It's hard to move around. So there are a couple of key players that make these projects come together. Green Mountain Power is not only one of the big sponsors of this monument, but physically helps us get it here. Their truck shows up at our site. They come in with a big crane. We move it into the sky, and it sits on a truck, and then it ends up here. It's an incredibly delicate and heavy task. So big thanks to them and their crew for making this happen and sitting here in one or, well, two pieces. Judy Fox and the Rutland Regional Medical Center, we really owe a huge amount of gratitude to. They are one of the leading healthcare organizations in the state. They keep me healthy and are really just key players in this whole project, so thank you to them. Jim and Betsy Reddy, community leaders and regular Gift of Life volunteers. They not only play a huge role in the Gift of Life blood drive itself, but also in this monument. I also want to thank John and Sue Casella, who are here with us today, for their contributions to this project. Mike Solomano and the Killington Resort, who have given out countless ski passes to folks who participate in the Gift of Life blood drive. Lyle Jepson and the Chamber of Commerce, Mark Foley, who will be here speaking with us in just a moment, and all of the folks who really just bring the community together for initiatives like this. So thank you to all of them. And lastly, the Ojala family, who I think I have several tens of members here, and who were at our studio last night. Thank you guys, not just for your support on the project, but for your support in the community. So with that, I want to introduce Steve Costello, who I'm sure all of you already know. Steve is a community organizer. He's a key figure behind not only this monument trail, but also in organizing the Gift of Life blood drive, broadly speaking. He has been really just an incredible help as I've taken over from Carol and gotten these things finalized and here. He's made sure no balls were dropped that I was inevitably going to drop. So a big thank you, Steve, personally, and with that, Steve Costello.
So as we talked about, the Rutland Sculpture Trail is kind of an organic creature. There's multiple partners involved, but how each piece comes to life is really an interesting story. And one of the keys to it is you got to have a great story behind the sculpture. There's got to be interest in the sculpture, and ultimately you have to have people who are willing to fund the sculpture. If you look around all the other sculptures in Rutland, they're all pretty historical figures, people who've been dead for 50 years or 100 years or more. In this case, two of the three people who are featured on this sculpture are alive and are with us here today. So it's a very unique situation. And why is that? Paul Gallo, I don't know if he's here, for a long time has been telling me we need a sculpture related to the Gift of Life Marathon. Paul's been a big supporter of it. He is one of the people who, in the early days, really saw the strength and value of the Gift of Life Marathon, not just as a blood drive, but as a community building tool. And it really became that. It became an event where people turned out not just to donate blood and save lives, but to help build this community's reputation, to do something special together, and to really build a sense of community. And that's what we did when we set the national record. 2,350 pints of blood in a town of 15,000 people in one day. That record was set 13 years ago, and we still hold that record. And I'd bet dollars to donuts it will never get broken. As we thought about what we could do with a sculpture, who would be in it? How would it be? How would you show a blood drive, especially a blood drive like this? And we started thinking about who makes a blood drive real, who makes this blood drive in particular real, and who makes it so successful. And there's four legs to this stool, really. If you first think about it, the American Red Cross, and I'm looking around, Red Cross, Red Cross, Red Cross. There's so many people here from the Red Cross. They deserve a huge round of applause. The Red Cross is a largely volunteer-driven organization. There are paid staff, obviously, to run it, but it is highly dependent on volunteers. And a lot of volunteers are here. I'm really happy to see so many people, and not just from Rutland, from all over the state of Vermont, which is great. Because the Gift of Life really took not just our community, but a much broader community, people from all over the state, New England, really, the year we set the national record to make it work. In addition to the Red Cross, there's three other legs to this stool, if you think about it. One is volunteers, and there's lots of volunteers here. And one volunteer in particular, you're going to see in just a few moments on this sculpture. And that's Bobby Paquette. And I want Bobby to come up here for a second. When you hear the word volunteer in Rutland County, this is the guy that most people think of right away. Bobby donates more time and more energy to more different things than anyone I have ever met or even heard about. He is the epitome of great volunteerism and a real hero to this community. So Bobby, thank you. The second one and the other part of Bobby's thing is, Bobby's not just a volunteer, Bobby's a blood donor. And for a long, long time, Bobby didn't want to donate blood. He was afraid of getting poked with a needle. And eventually, after many years of cajoling from other Red Cross volunteers and Red Cross staff, Bobby finally succumbed to the needle and learned that it's really not that big of a deal, and he's become a great advocate for donating blood. So stay right here. So Bobby actually represents blood donors on this sculpture. The other person who comes to mind when you think about volunteers is Mary Ojula. And if you don't know Mary Ojula, you haven't been around Rutland for very long. Mary lived to be 100 years old, and I want her son Gus to come up and join us as well. Mary lived to 100 years old, and she was still volunteering at the Gift of Life Marathon at the age of 100. Unbelievable story. In fact, some of my favorite photos from the Gift of Life Marathon feature both Bobby and Mary Ojula together. For her 100th birthday, someone asked her what she wanted for her birthday. She said, I want people to donate blood at the Gift of Life Marathon. And so that year she was our ambassador for the drive, and it had a great impact and brought a lot of people out. The last person you think of when you think of a blood drive is people who need blood, recipients. And we have a person right here, Stephanie Schaefer, who probably has received more blood than everyone else here combined, I'm betting. You all know Steph's story, I'm sure. I'll give the Reader's Digest version for those who didn't. Steph was injured in a horrific accident in the Bahamas 7 years ago now? And she's lucky to be alive here. And she's alive because of blood donors, because of heroic actions from members of her own family, and from her sheer will to live. She is one of the most determined people I've ever met, one of the strongest people I've ever met, and as far as getting people to donate blood, one of the most powerful influencers I've ever seen in any form in telling the story of the Red Cross and the need for blood donation. So thank you, Stephanie, for everything you've done and continue to do for us as well. We're going to step aside now, and in a moment you will see 2 of the 3 plus Gus's mom in stone. Thank you.
Evan Moores is the sculptor behind the Gift of Life monument that we're about to unveil here. He has been in my 4.5 months on the job as director at the carving studio there for, I think, every single week in some form. He has been a resource for me as I've come in at the carving studio. His works are featured right at the front door of the carving studio. He is an incredible figure for us. He is an incredible figure for the community. This is the first monument that he has designed and sculpted, and he has spent countless hours on it. With that, Evan Moores.
Just gonna record myself so I can hear what kind of craziness comes out of my mouth. So thank you everyone for coming out and supporting public art in Rutland. I think it's so amazing to have this series of sculptures, and I've been honored to be a part of it. Thank you for the wonderful introduction.
Thank you.
As Noel said, I've worked on 4 of the other monuments, but this is the first one that I also had the privilege of designing. And so I wanted to take the opportunity to talk a bit about my design. But first, on a personal note, I'm not a Rutlander, I'm not local, but I have been coming to the carving studio since 2009, so the Rutland area is a very special place for me. And someone said I should watch, of course, the documentary, The Blood is in This Town, about the Gift of Life marathon. And I watched it, and I was brought to tears a few times because it was so touching, and it was filmed around the time that I started coming to Rutland. And just to see the changes that have happened in Rutland all over the years is really inspiring. It made me really realize how much I care about this community. So, as Steve mentioned, he wanted to, from the beginning, when he presented the idea to me, he wanted to feature these 3 remarkable people, Mary, Bobby, and Stephanie. So how do you do a marble sculpture about a blood drive featuring 3 people? How do you put that into 3 dimensions? So I do a lot of relief sculpture. That's what made sense to me to tell a story. And I did it, so relief is sculpture that comes out of a background, and I put the relief around a column. So what's great about these 3 people is they kind of tell the parts of the story in a pretty clear way, I think. So Mary is shown organizing. She's seated at a table where someone is signing up to donate. Working around right, Bobby is next. He's being prepped by a medical technician to donate blood. After Bobby, there are 2 people hugging in the background. So this to me represents giving and receiving. And sometimes you give, sometimes you receive, and it's really about community and relying on each other. And that's kind of the root of what society is helping each other out. So next we see Stephanie. She's a blood recipient who's sharing her story to inspire others to donate. So why did I choose the column? A few reasons. One, it allows for the story to be continuous. So after Stephanie, it circles back around so that she's speaking to a crowd. And then we see a volunteer from the audience signing up to donate at Mary's table. So it's a reminder, it's an ongoing story. There's a constant need for blood donors, for volunteers, and it's about this cycle of giving. So there's no clear beginning or end, but it's just a continuous thing. The second reason for the column is that it can function as a sculpture in the round as well as just a relief. So you don't need to mount it on a building. It exists in this space. You can walk all around it. It's on this base, which is intended to be a bench. So I'm hoping that viewers are inspired to spend a little time with it and see it from all angles. And the third reason that I like the column is that I think it's a symbol of unity. It's one solid pillar capped by a sort of roof. And the roof to me represents community. We're all under the same roof. It's also similar to classical victory columns, like Trajan's column in Rome. But instead of depicting military triumphs, this is a triumph of doing good in the community. It's everyday people doing heroic things just by organizing together and giving. And I think that's a really powerful message, that you can be a hero just by doing something as simple as donating blood. A last observation, when I was doing my initial sketch and looking at photos from past Gift of Life marathons, everyone in the photos was smiling. And so that's how I sculpted them here. Everyone's smiling. And I think that's really telling. Giving brings joy. And I think it's so great to have a monument to such a joyful, positive thing as the Gift of Life Marathon. And I'm very grateful to have had the opportunity to carve it. Huge thank you to everyone who's made it possible, but a few specific thank yous to Steve Costello and Carol Driscoll for giving me the opportunity and supporting my crazy vision. The carving studio, which as I mentioned is very special to me, and Noel for hosting me this summer for a beautiful, productive summer. And the Vermont Marble for the beautiful blocks of stone, which were great to carve. Well, as I said,
Our last speaker for today is Mark Foley, another gentleman who probably needs no introduction. Mark is a key player in this beautiful sculpture trail that we all so much adore. Mark has been a phenomenal resource for me, again, taking over as the carving studio, trying to get logistically a gigantic block of marble in the middle of a park, and helping me with everything so much as, who to talk to and as little as how do I get a padlock unlocked. So Mark has been a massive, massive help for me, and looking forward to seeing what you have to say.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you all so much for being here. I'm going to read from my notes so I don't go off track. What an amazing accomplishment we're celebrating today. Thank you to everyone who's being recognized for the roles that they played in this incredible achievement, which defines the Gift of Life Marathon. There's so many ways that Tom Huebner had an impact on this community. In the case of Gift of Life, he not only saw the importance and need for blood donation as the leader of Rutland Regional Medical Center, he also saw the incredible work being done by the blood donors, the volunteers, the organizers, and the people being honored on this sculpture today, all in support of the community and by truly giving the gift of life. Tom's support for this effort from its earliest days, adding the weight and resources of the region's largest and most important healthcare organization, and bringing his personal commitment were invaluable as the blood drive grew, eventually to be the largest drive ever, and a symbol of the selfless volunteerism that is so vibrant in the Rutland community. Selfless leadership defined Tom Huebner, and that defines the Gift of Life. So now it's my privilege to dedicate the Gift of Life Marathon sculpture, the trail's 12th, in Tom's honor. And I'd like to ask Trish Huebner, Tom's widow, to join me in the unveiling of Evan Moore's beautiful work. Okay. Hey, 3, 2, 1.
Thank you, everyone, for coming today.